They're recording.
Yeah.
In case you wanted to be. Move that chair for you.
Wall Lake came in and offered pay for whatever.
That's fine. I'll make it one up to
Well, yeah, to help with demolition. They're trying to save a little.
Okay, the council just came out of closed session. Anybody for public forum? No, you're up for number 7. You're official. First item is the consent agenda. Any additions or corrections? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Hold on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tom. Oh, yeah. Reese.
Yes. Okay, resolution 1840. The execution of an offer to buy the real estate.
I guess just in understanding, this resolution would have the city purchase that real estate. The real estate is at 408 Main Street, that old downtown building, and purchase price would be $12,000.
Make the motion to approve resolution 1840.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Over.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Bolton.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, we have a letter of engagement for the library. Eric, did you want to say anything?
Taking us 3.5 months to get an architect interested in us to come down and meet with us, and we gave them a proposal that we can spend up to $12,100 on an hourly rate to do us a set plans. We actually have an idea, set of plans, a list about the functions that we'll have be able to present to the public and to the city council upon their completion date. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. He was a very considered gentleman and have a good opinion of him. So I think this will be a good time.
When we met with him, he gave a little background on himself and the firm, and the firm's done something like 50 libraries.
Yes, we've got a while.
They really specialize in library, and yeah, really good things to report about the firm. The deliverables out of this basically are concept drawings, elevation drawings, cost estimates. These are the things that are needed to go into a fundraising activity. So that's why it was called all this pre-funding. But that's the amount that we're asking the city councilman to approve. It has this
The 12,500.
12.5, but that is just for these pre-funding activities, and there'll be some more engineering, architecture work to do with it.
I'd like to know more about that. So this is to draw plans,
Yes.
and that includes the interior?
Yes, it'll be a full concept. We want to. Our intent is to take out part of the wall on the inside, to enter into the current meeting room, make that more of a clean area, and to expand to the east, 40 by 40 situation. We're going to have a French door between the present library and the new library. There's own entrance and exit. It'll have a.
The addition is 40 by 40?
The addition is 40 by 40. And the current library is 40 by 80. Then we want to have a semi-solid divider between the, so we can divide the addition in half. Soundproof divider system, so we have two groups. We have two different groups in there. We want to have a more of a full-size type kitchen, not a huge kitchen, but at least a full-size refrigerator in there. So that little refrigerator. We may have to add a bathroom because of the additional space, but we can just add a family bathroom, not another bedroom bathroom. But this will take care of. This will show us the whole plan that George Lawson drew up for us. We've had him, a consultant, come here before, back in March and April, and he gave us a plan what we should do to make it a more friendly-looking library. Reduce some of the collection, push some of the collection further to the east, They make the program room a much bigger program room, and they put like the puzzle table back in there, some other stuff back in there. That seems to be cluttering up the main part of the library. And this would not be just a meeting room area, this would be a full use, all the time area of the library that people can just come in there and meet and, you know, like cards or whatever, do their coloring book stuff. A lot of activities could go on in there this way.
So we paid a consultant back in March
Yes.
for kind of a design, but not an engineer design.
Well, yeah, just
More of a concept.
a concept of what he thought we should do.
And this is gonna be actual,
This is actual architectural drawings. They have the plans from the original library. They have George's study, they have our input. This will be a full scope of what it's gonna look like, how it's gonna be designed, what it's gonna cost. You know, his off-the-cuff comment about construction cost was $350,000.
which I just absolutely blew me away.
Yeah.
I do not understand that figure whatsoever.
Yeah.
House without,
Yeah, because the original library cost $100,000. You know, when they built it in '86, it was $100,000 for the whole thing. But that wasn't furnishing, that was the construction. You know, this is still the $350 is the construction cost, not the furnishings, not the architectural fees. You know, so it's going to be more than we anticipated. You
a
know,
lot more.
yeah,
I just didn't understand that figure at all.
yeah.
And I'm hoping that that figure's not correct. Is there any,
Yeah, I think he was kind of pressured into making a comment about it. You know, a little bit. You know, no hard pressure, but we just wanted
I mean,
an
is
off-the-cuff idea.
is the plan then that this will be put up for bid for local build?
Yes, local, we're going to have interest from local builders, we hope, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
No more questions, we'll need a motion to consider the letter.
Just, if I can, just real quick, we had that discussion too about the relationship between the city and the library board. Okay, so just knowing that the library board is a separate, really, in lots of ways, a separate entity from the city. They run the library,
Right.
okay? But they also recognize that they need city support in order to be able to proceed into this project. So we had that discussion about how much involvement they would ask the city council to have, okay? And that's why you see things like this, we'd ask that this letter of engagement be approved by the city council. Technically, the library board could do it,
Right, I
and
understand.
they could engage them
I
themselves,
just had
but they.
concerns about the cost of the total project.
Sure, yeah. But I just want to, I guess, let you know that the library board very much wants the city council to be
Yeah.
involved in aspects of this project too.
Now I entertain a motion to accept that letter.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Thank you.
Yes.
Boltman.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Mulhart.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Hey, can we back up just for a second?
Yes.
Resolution
1840, that,
1840.
on the other paper it says
1848.
1848.
It is 440.
40, okay.
Alright.
Okay, now we're gonna discuss disposal of the property. Leanne, we're awaiting your input.
Waiting my input. Okay, some of the residents of High Street are here also. Years ago, the railroad ran behind our homes. There is an alley that starts off of High Street between Londa Hawkamps and Jim and Kathy Carroll's. That alley goes east and then it turns and goes directly north. We're asking that that be vacated, and the lot that is behind that the city has, which are lots 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 on the north side of the addition, be given back to the homeowners. The only issue that we're kind of having is there is a snowmobile trail back there. Is that a liability factor for us as homeowners, or do we work something out that we don't get that parcel, and then you guys would own that strip, and then down over the hill towards the city maintenance, or what. That's one of the issues that was brought up with one of the homeowners, and I agree, because I don't want somebody wrapping their snowmobile around a tree back there and then saying, oh. But we would like to have the alley vacated. It's never used. Actually, Lonnie uses it as her driveway because, and I know Mrs. Fleener that originally owned my folks' house where I live, I asked her one time, I said, did you guys ever use that alley? And she said, not in all the years that we lived there. So that alley is there, but it's not being used. We as homeowners maintain it, we mow it, we fertilize it, we clean up the tree limbs and such. So what we're asking is that you vacate that and give us back those lots, which actually would be, I think,
Behind 2 to 7.
yeah, 2 to 7, and they are like 400 foot long by 100 foot deep, I believe, would be the total. So that's.
You're just talking about the old railroad right away there then?
There's a
Well,
15-foot alley,
There's a
Yeah.
15-foot alley
and
that
then
would
the
be
railroad
vacated.
right away.
And then
And
the
then-
railroad right of way, which actually goes down over the hill where all those trees are, that goes down to where you guys put the drainage ditch in.
Mm-hmm,
So that is what we're asking for,
sure.
so.
If the-
Railroad never sold that property to
Well, actually,
landowners?
I did some research today, because there was legally an alley there when Charles Ferguson was mayor and the city clerk was Legene Holcroft. They went and got these are all the different areas in town that they acquired from the railroad. And ours was or that particular parcel of ground was one of them. Which,
Otherwise, it would have been to the homeowners at
right,
that time.
because if you read in your thing, it says it reverts back to the homeowners. So what we're asking for is to have that done. I mean, my folks took care of it for 30 years and now all of us are taking care of it, and, you know, it'll put it back on tax rolls. It won't be a lot, but it's a little bit. So that's what we're asking for.
So what are these other lots then that you're talking about?
Well, each one would be, our lot is number 4.
Oh,
So each one would be like,
oh, I see.
You know,
In
Londa's-
addition to the existing
Londa's is
lot.
Right.
number 2,
I see.
Bob and Esther
Bob
Franks
and
is
Esther Frank
3.
is number 3, ours is 4.
Mike McNace is 5.
Okay.
Sandy Gross is 6, and then Corey, which is on
Corey
the end, would
Weber's
be
on the
7. So those are the lots that are actually behind that little alley, which is right there, so. And I do know that there is old utilities back there. I don't know that they're being used because the new stuff is sitting in my backyard. But all of us are in agreement that we would definitely give easements to anyone that needs to get back there. So, that's not a problem either. The only issue we had was if the snowmobilers, is that a liability for the homeowners, you know?
What is the city's agreement with the snowmobile people?
We don't have an agreement with the snowmobile people. You know, it's just public lands as far as that goes.
Okay.
Now, I was asking the snowmobile group about what do they do, like at the lumber yard and, the next place to the north from that, and that's just a verbal agreement with those folks when they
go through.
go through there.
Well, you know, I don't have a problem if they stay on the snowmobile trail, but I've had snowmobile, and Londa can attest to this, we've had them clear up in our backyard. They don't adhere to stay on the trail. So, you know, that's an issue too.
We have stop signs people don't use either.
Exactly. Or turn signals or brakes or anything, so, but that's what we're asking, is that you guys look at the fact that it's an alley that nobody uses. So, and it'll put it back on the tax rolls, won't be a huge amount, but it's back on the tax rolls. So, you guys have any other input, Mike? So, anyway, that's what we're asking for. And I do have this copy, it kinda shows where it is, so.
And in the council, just flip to page 16 here real quick. So, and Leanne had provided this aerial picture, and you see the blue. And that's, so there's two parts that they would propose. I hand drawn in a red line, and that's the alley. The blue is that railroad right-of-way that's in the back of it, okay? Clear to the north, there at Corey Weber's, they would not propose to abandon that alley. That access is used down to the city shop.
Correct, and we're not asking for that. I mean, we use it too as homeowners if we decide that we wanna go down and around or whatever, so, I mean, that would definitely not be in,
So just that the blue box itself isn't a real accurate depiction of what they would propose, because it doesn't include the alley clear to the north.
And so the land to the south there of that blue box is,
The railroad property.
that land was given back to the homeowners at
To
the
the
time?
homeowners. You know, again, it's because the city has that alley there, you know, it goes to the adjacent property owners, and in this case, the city's the adjacent property owners on both sides of that railroad right away, because of that alley. Flip back to page 2 in the memo. I just want to make sure that we bring these issues up. City does have electric lines in that area, and we would need to define where those electric lines are, because there's a good chance, like Leanne was saying, they're probably a lot of it's on private property now, but we would need, all of the service lines are on private property, but we need to define the area where the main runs. Okay, there's a garage at, I think it's 800 High Street, that's Mike's. There's a garage there that utilizes the alley, okay? But the homeowners then would propose to assure access to that garage using private access easements, and we would need some proof that that had occurred.
okay. I think Sandy's property would be involved in that, and you said you didn't have a problem with Mike
No, I don't
using
have a
it.
problem, it's been that way for
I
years
mean,
and
that's,
years.
we've just kinda all give and take over there in that area, so.
You know, it should probably be in writing in case something would happen.
Exactly.
Change,
The
then,
city would certainly
Yeah.
require that that should show us
Okay.
private access easement. Number 3 does deal with that snowmobile trail. Okay. Number 4 talks about how the city would dispose of property. Again, if the property is sold, it's gotta be sold at a market rate or offered for sale via some competitive manner. Now, in this instance, you know, the only people who would ever benefit are the adjacent property owners. But we've done this before and asked for bids on it, and we would get a bid, you know, it'd be from the neighbor. But again, there is a process that you would have to go through in order to dispose of any property. And I think this is correct, Dave, you'll have to see if I'm correct in this, but I see 2 different manners of disposing of property, because one is right-of-way, where you actually, there's a process to work through to dispose of that alley as a right-of-way, and the other one is that railroad property that is not platted as right-of-way, it's just city-owned property. So we have to rely on Dave really to lead us through a process there.
Yeah, you're gonna end up with some type of bid process, because if you vacate the alley, the title would go to the adjoining landowners down to the middle of the alley, so that when you vacate the alley, then the city of Lakeview ends up owning half of the alley to the, whichever direction it is,
To the west.
west, yeah. And so you can vacate the alley for non-user, subject to the garage you're talking about. Have something have to be worked out for that. But then, after that, you have to go through some type of bidding process, which, as Scott said, I don't see there's gonna be a lot of people coming in wanting to buy this ground, but you're gonna have to go through the formalities, because you just, it's not a deal where you can just vacate an abandoned railroad right away, that you be entitled to that.
So you're saying they have to purchase it?
Yes.
Could be a dollar.
Yeah, I guess
between them 4 or 5 people that own that ground, just say you get $1 or $2,
Well, I would tell you, there's some example about this happening in this right at Vicky's place. There, at 4th Street there at Vicky's house, there's an extra right-of-way. And the city had decided 25 years ago, that they would narrow up that right of way. So they offered this extra portion of the right of way for sale. But it was for sale too, and it was not just $1. There was a cost that came along. And there's, so the city could have that discussion about what you'd like to see about that. There's some other things would be to define that area that you would include in this too, and that is to physically define it as in probably go down there and say, this railroad right away goes way over that ridge and down into the city maintenance property. You know, they may not want it. You know, or issues about this snowmobile trail. You know, so would they define an area on top of that the ridge yet where the snowmobile trail would go, and that can still be public? You know, you can make this out to be whatever you would want to. You just need a legal description.
And we discussed that too, that, you know, if there was gonna be a huge liability issue as homeowners, we may not want where that snowmobile trail is, and we would own up to, or within a foot of it, and we would let you guys, the city, own that snowmobile trail and all the brush and crud that goes down over the hill. So that, and that's your one instead of ours, but, you know, that was one of the other issues that we're looking at, because it is a liability, you know?
Yeah, and I guess I do want to make sure to relay this too, because I was talking with Bill Lenders about pros and cons about doing this. Okay, and his general feeling about disposing of public property is that you ought not to do it. There's utilities back there specifically, and you know, just the idea that whenever you give away public property or dispose of it, you just don't get it back. So, you know, if this is something that you want to do, you want to make darn sure that you addressed all of your concerns and that this is truly something that you want to do, because you can get it back.
Well, it certainly sounds like there's going to be some cost to us too to do it. Right, legal fees and description of the property. We probably need to get that back. Those fees. And it's just, if it was, you could just say, okay, here you go, you can have it. And get all over that.
You're gonna wrap up a couple thousand real fast.
The survey would be $1,200–$1,400.
Also, they've been taking care of it. No, we're not doing our job.
But I'll tell you what, if we don't come to an agreement, I don't care if the reeds get this tall and the snakes get in there, we're done. I mean, my dad was the one, and Wayne Christensen went back there and cleaned that up, and planted the trees and cleaned it up, and spent a lot of money putting seed and fertilizer and stuff, and we as homeowners have continued to do that for the city. Well, that's worth something too, to us, you
Goes
know?
back on the tax rolls, like, after a number of years, we get that back.
Yeah.
How wide is that alley out there?
15 feet, I think.
15?
Yeah.
The alley would be easy.
Yeah.
It's the rest of it that gets complicated. They do have a partial legal, it looks like as far as the width and length of that railroad right of way, so it might not be that complicated. We've already got it.
So if you, I guess I don't really know that much about this, but if you vacate the alley and just the portion that they have that abuts to, you just split the alley in the middle? Is that how that works?
Could, I'd have to look, I don't know what happens if the municipality owns land on the other side
On
of the
the other
alley.
side of it?
It could be that goes entirely to the land owner, so the city says the city gave them the alley. I'd have to look that up. any sense if that was the way. If the city vacates an alley, why would we want to take back the title back?
We have found a lot of the corner pins for the yards back there, so a lot of us know kind of where things are, which will help.
It looks like they surveyed the railroad right of way when they took title.
Right.
From what
Right.
legal was like, if the survey is legal.
Uh-huh.
The nearest biggest now, when we had locator back there, is the utilities are all abandoned.
Yeah,
They're not active.
from what the locators all told us.
Most of them are coming in like right behind my garage
And mine
through
too.
our lot
Yeah.
anyway.
But the ones back in the alley, I think probably was railroad wires.
I asked Bill about that too. We had an old setup there that had since been abandoned, so there's a bunch of stuff back there that isn't.
So if we
But
don't
the-
have anything back there,
But we have current utilities back there,
We,
right?
there's, electric comes from the back side of their house.
It's in my backyard,
But
Mickey.
that's the
Right behind
question,
my
is to
garage.
locate that exactly where it's.
But it's on, whose ground is it
Goes
on?
underneath Mike's garage.
No, for sure, all of the service lines are on private property.
Right.
It's just a question of where that main comes.
as long as we maintain easement, we're okay.
So what's the cheapest thing we can do?
Motion to start the process.
I mean, what are you saying, Dave, that we need to do? We can't just vacate the alley? Or if we do vacate the alley,
I
you
think-
have a concern about who owns the
Yeah,
city's side.
yeah, so that gets them 7.5 feet, it sounds like, unless there's an exception to that. Give them an entire 15 feet.
And then they're over down the,
Not the alley.
No,
That's the railroad.
that's the railroad.
oh,
Railroad right away is on the east side of the alley.
yeah.
It says the railroad right of way is 100 by 480 feet. And adjacent to lots 2 through 7, so that's pretty clean. I know the depth past the alley is 100. Which is in 408. We match up to the back end of the width of the lots, except for that end. It looks like it's up to all over the trip. Where we have access to city property.
The city would really want to examine that, about how much of that property we would wish to retain coming down over the mill, where the trees are. That is our drainage area. You know, this downtown, all greens down there behind the shops. We need to be cognizant of that.
We need to find out if the council's going to do this.
It just, if you are, it's just kind of a motion to start the process, because there is quite a process out there.
So this blue box is railroad right away. It's not the alley. So they're not asking for the blue box, you're just asking for the alley?
No, we're asking for the blue box. We're asking, this is the alley, Vicki. And then there's another solid blue line. This is all that lot, which actually kind of goes down over the hill.
Okay. So that's all of it, is it?
Right, right. But,
From
like,
a survey point of view, that'd be a huge part. Otherwise, you're gonna have to split the area.
Well, I still gotta have a motion to figure out what's.
To get some stuff.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to start the process.
Motion second, roll call.
Laura,
Yes.
Bolton, Reese,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Tom.
Thank you, we'll start it.
So can I ask the group then, can we interact with the Davises then and kind of, that'd be the contact point and
Fine.
and like, you know, and I am gonna try, I don't know who's in charge of the snowmobile, but I do wanna get with them and stuff, and I wanna check with legalities for insurance purposes. Because I know, and Mike, and I'm sure none of us want to be held liable for somebody wrapping a snowmobile around a tree back there. And believe me, the way they drive through there, it very well could happen.
Do they maintain that path at all, groom it at all, or not?
No, we mow it all summer long, and pick up sticks and chop
No,
trees
they
down
don't
and fall
groom it.
down. We do all that.
They don't groom the
But it's not
snowpack.
groomed.
They
No,
don't.
that's
That's
just-
just- yeah, that's
The
how they-
snowmobiles do it
Yeah.
themselves. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to
They
know.
don't
It's
have
not
to
back
groom
through
the
there,
back.
you know,
No.
just-
No.
okay.
No, well, they're going through there because it's public ground.
Exactly.
Once if
Once
it
it's
becomes
not.
that it's not public ground, they really, I don't think can have an agreement with you. I mean, I guess you could do that if you wanted to.
I don't want that liability. I won't take that liability. I'm,
Probably
you know.
put some signs up staying on public.
I'm sorry.
You could probably, put some signs up to stay off private property.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's for sure what we do.
Just as good as the stop sign.
Yeah.
Just saying.
They don't work at all.
Yeah,
Okay.
had a round with one yesterday.
But, as we get together and talk more, I'm gonna talk to them more about delineating that area. And whether they, would desire to have that land, which is basically the snowmobile trail now, or not. And then I'm interested in the council's feelings on that too. That is the designated snowmobile route through town. And when you get off of the highway, that's where you get on in order to head down, to go down to the Stock Rail Trail
They run both
and
sides.
head.
They run the road and that.
Yeah, they do.
But as far as having a designated way, that's the designated way.
Okay,
All right, thank you very much.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
We don't have to leave, there's more stuff coming.
I might be missing my show.
Thank you.
We'll wear some dogs too. Okay, we have to pay, the first pay estimate for Billman Hicks, 200 and some thousand.
You bet. If you just take a look at page 17 here, you can see what virtually, all of this, it's $266,000. You can see the $148,000 for bonds and insurance, and then it'd be 40% of mobilization at $72,000. So it's bond and insurance, mobilization, and then we're paying for some water main that has been bought and is on site. Everything's in order. And then we would put in the request to the SRF for reimbursement, and when that turns around, then we need to have the money on hand.
Need a motion to approve the pay estimate. Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Bolton? Laura?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Reese?
Okay, 1841 is the contract performance for Blacktop crew.
Yeah, this is just approving the contract, which we have signed copies back now, and then also the bonds, we've received the bonds back, so.
We have that motion.
Motion approved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Laura?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Bolton? Reese?
Resolution 1842 is our tax abatement.
Yep, tax abatement for Aaron Brotherton and for Brett and Mary Levitt. These are prior approvals.
The motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Laura?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Bolton? Yes. Reese?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Ashley Hauser's agreed to serve on the hometown pride as our youth gal. Need a motion to approve her.
I'll make it.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Thank you.
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Bolton? Tom?
Yes.
Okay, we want to consider purchase of a speed trailer. Royce, you want anything to add?
Well, first of all, let me say what an honor it is to address such a distinguished panel. Mayor and I have talked for a couple of years about purchasing one of these, and it became available to us on the STEP grant, where they would reimburse $4,200 of it. So I had budgeted $8,000 for it this year, and I went around taking bids with, the highest I believe was $22,000, which seemed a little high. Kind of looked at it, and the one I like is from Custom Signals. It's $6,601 with two of the options we wanted plus their value pack. It is a state bid item, which means the state of Iowa has bid it out, and it's one that is accepted on the bid. So, along with the bundle pack, we would have a removable tongue so we know where it is after we left it for a while, and a trailer coverage, so we can cover it up with non-use.
Have you, so they make different types, is what you're saying?
Yes, there's all sorts of different.
Have you talked to any towns that have used this particular model?
Sac City has one, and they seem to like it. There's actually on page 24 pictures of it, and you can set what you want for the target speed, and if they're exceeding that, red and blue lights will flash, and will say slow.
Is the process, you put the trailer out for a week or two, and then you go back the next week and issue tickets?
It actually does come with a traffic data computer, so it will record it, so if there's a disgruntled resident, say on Blossom Street or somewhere, we can show that it actually is not a problem.
I'm not real big fan of this, I'm not real much in favor of this, but I do think that stretch on Third Street coming up past John Prince, they just really get a real rolling going there. They're coming through there really fast. Is that an area that we might target
Oh, that
with
would,
this?
if you'll go with the major traffic routes, traffic lanes, truck routes would be the first place to put it.
I'm in favor of it only because it slows people down. Whether they're speeding, or whether,
It does, when they see
it
it.
slows them down because people see
I
it.
can't see where it's gonna help if we don't write no tickets, and we don't wanna write no tickets, so what's the sense of having this?
I'm in favor of writing tickets.
You get tickets for
How
it, so.
often would it be used?
I hope to have it out most of the summer in different locations.
Well, Fourth Street's a good street for it, too.
I don't do anything for stop signs, but that's slow run.
Well, yeah, that's a speedway.
Yep.
So this grant that you talked about, is this the total cost without the grant?
Yes, and the grant would be $4,200.
So our cost is about $2,400?
Yes.
At least it would show the public we're trying. You can't be everywhere at one time. You can use this in Wall Lake also.
Yes. Well, actually, let me correct myself. It would be $6,600, but then we would be reimbursed $4,200. We have to purchase it first.
Right.
It's a reimbursement grant.
I got it.
Like I said, I like it just because it actually will slow the traffic down, because people tend to slow down when you see those signs.
Yeah, I agree.
We have a motion to approve that purchase.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Owen,
Yes.
Reese,
No.
Stanky,
Yes.
Thoms.
Yes, just write the tickets if we're gonna do
That's
it.
what
then.
Blow 'em up. And we have been targeted lately, I know that. We have a city administrator report. Thank you, Royce.
Thank you.
Yeah, the one thing that was listed there is to discuss some potential grant projects. And really, this is intended for Sac County endowment grants, and the application process for that, or timeline for that's usually September or October. So that'll sneak up on us here pretty quick about when applications would be due. So just wanted to get a little feedback from the city council about potential projects that you'd like to take a look at. I listed several of them in the memo. Some stuff about Speaker Park Shelter House, about installing a different type of central heating or cooling, and installing an awning over the patio east of the shelter. Second thing about installing a shade maybe over the farmer's market area. Lots of communities have done these grants for new street name signs. And you can get some different custom-made street signs that are, and they're generally bigger than what we have right now. And the Hometown Pride will like this idea about restrooms by the bike arch. And we have not addressed our property ownership issues there. But the one alternative that they do and still stay within that easement that they talked about was to have, basically have one restroom on one side of the trail, one restroom on the other side of the trail. It's got a covered roof that actually goes across the trail then. So it's more of a arch type of an arrangement.
In front of the bike arch?
Yeah, this would be, I don't know how far south, but it's south of the bike arch.
The kiosk would come down, so it's not too busy. You put the kiosk
And
on the
would you
side.
have a kiosk?
Right, it'll be on the walls of the bathrooms as they drive under, it'll be right inside, on both sides of the trail.
I think for this round, you know, since we don't have those other issues and since we don't have the building next to the farmer's market issue set aside, you know, I think those could be set for the next round. But for this round, you know, I really like 1 and 3.
That was what I got checked, and the shade is a wonderful idea, but with this building up in the air, I think it's not a good time for that. The restrooms, I don't know. We don't know about the land for that either, so. I think that the installing central air and cooling into the speaker part would be a good idea, and the new street signs, I think, would be, a lot of people have complained about that. They're hard to read, and they, you know, the new bigger signs would be good.
But I like the idea of putting some type of roof over that patio part, on speaker part.
Nate, do you have something?
You mentioned something about street signs. Driving through Sac, I noticed the other day that they put all new street signs, it really looks nice.
They're a little
Yeah,
low on
So
the
does
side.
Early and so does Shaler.
Really has that too.
I just seen it in Sac the other day, it really
Yeah.
looked nice.
It does look nice.
We got some with just the poles, no sign left on them.
Well,
Sac City has new square signs too.
And if we're gonna have them, then it'd be nice if they're straight.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know how much that costs,
You know, we have not priced them, so I don't know.
you know.
We can get some preliminary prices.
You'd have to have preliminary prices pretty quick if you're gonna put in for an SCGA.
Right.
Yeah.
The same way with the shelter. I would like to see the shelter house improved, would be my priority. I'd want to shade over that,
East side.
yeah, that cement area
Yeah.
for
Well,
15
they've talked
years.
about it for years, but
Right.
nothing
Right.
ever gets done.
Well, let's not talk about it, let's do it.
Let's do it.
But,
And I think
yeah.
the heating and cooling is inadequate that we have.
Well, it's noisy, for one thing.
Well, and it doesn't keep up.
No, but I mean, if you have, except, you know, the wall layers are always noisy.
So as you think about this shade over the patio then to the east of the shelter, is this a permanent wooden shingle covering, or is it a fabric covering, or what are people's thoughts?
I think it should be permanent. I do too. Because if you're gonna get into a pull-out or a roll-out, you're gonna have wear and tear, and other people are gonna be using it, and
somebody won't pull it out, right? It's gotta be permanent. I think, I agree.
So you're talking totally closed then, or just a shelter, or
no, I don't want it closed, I think just,
Just a
just
shade.
a roof.
just a shade?
Does anybody have anything else that they would wanna put onto this list we should think about? These are just some things we put together.
Well, it's kinda hard when we don't know what they're gonna cost, I guess, but, I guess I didn't realize that the street signs were an issue, but obviously I wasn't paying attention. If you're gonna put them up, then I think we should put up good ones, and we should keep the sign, nothing gripes me more than when do you remember when they put that stop sign in the middle of the road? And they just cut a chunk out of the road and stuck it in there? And then it went like this, and this, and this, I just don't like that.
Okay.
And the signs down by the post office, the one way and that, they always used to be crooked and falling over halfway and just.
Something, talking about signs, something I'd like to see is when they clean the streets, Main Street, put a sign like in the, maybe like they do at the school with the stop sign, put it out there the night before so they can get the cars off the street, so you can clean the street. Because if there's cars parked there, then that part of the streets don't get cleaned.
That's true.
I mean, I clean.
We have to rely on our police department to clear everybody out.
I clean with a broom all the time from, it's, you know.
Sure.
Just extra work.
Well, let's see what 1 and 3 costs, you know.
I'd also like.
Get on vacation to
Right.
get those numbers.
But I'm also interested in 2 and 4. It's not that I'm not interested in 4, I'm just not sure how, I guess I would like to have time to see how that's gonna look. I'd like to see designs, but, I think the shade over the farmer's market, and I understand what you're saying, Terry, and I agree, but when we're down there, you know, like when you guys are there, you all have your tents up. But when we're having like Meet Me on Main down there,
There's no
it is
food.
hot, and for
I
the
know.
people that come, and I just think that area maybe would be utilized a little more if it wasn't so
Well, we,
hot there, you know, like maybe people would take their lunch in there and eat for lunch, or sit down and visit, or especially if we'd happen to get a coffee shop or something down that way, you know. It could be a really nice outdoor seating area, but right now, there's no relief.
well, I agree, I think it'd be 100% good, but with the building the way it is,
So
you know,
maybe
up
we
in the
just
air
need
and-
tables and umbrellas that, you know,
Something, yeah.
that is set out there all the time, except for, you know, and used that way.
You know, something portable that we could use for the summer. I mean, I just would like to see it at least researched and see what could be done.
If you go a couple miles north of Carroll on 71, on the west side of the road, there's cattle lots. They got a big post with a big tarp on.
Exactly,
They're $4,000.
yeah, close,
Just
well,
one pipe.
And you-
It's got, there's 32
cruises,
feet
I
across.
was talking to them guys, they said around 5,500.
You could put up poles. I mean, you wouldn't have to have it hooked to the buildings.
I talked to Reese and he said.
No, I know,
$4,000.
I just, if you wanted to get into that right now until we decided what we were gonna do with this building, but, yeah, we'd be more than happy with that, my tent's about shot.
Yeah, you know, even if we could do something like what Tammy said, temporarily, I guess I'd like to see
Well,
something.
the only thing is-
Because this building might take a while.
You put picnic tables in there though, then, you know, it's gonna have to be the kind that don't move so good with the umbrella on. You ain't gonna move them, you know, with the front.
You could put them in the ones that are in there. You could drill a hole in them.
You just drill a hole in them and then you get your base and
Yeah, I know, but, yeah,
it's
but,
not that, it's
I just-
portable.
I'd like to see some research, I guess, on it. I'd like to see something move on it that isn't terribly permanent or expensive at this point.
yeah.
See prices on those and then prioritize them from there.
Yep.
Very good. Do have a few other things for you. Today, we got together with the state of Iowa folks in regards to our sponsored projects. So Ben Wallace was here and just updated everybody about the status of the fish barrier project, and everything's coming along fine with that. Then Murr Engineering was here also, gave an update on the Camp Crescent project. But really the main reason for getting together today was for Murr, and then also Nillis was here, that's Bobby Terrell's engineers, so that they can interact with the state folks about the requirements for sponsored projects, because there is a certain process that they got to work through on plan approval and everything like that. So we got together and went through that process today. Now Murr has, they said their plans are 90% ready to go, but they need the approvals of the state on the rain garden or this area, which would be to the east, it'd be by the fence in the campground. So they need those approvals yet from the state before we could bid that portion of the project. So Murr's gonna get them the plans right away and have them work through plan review. And assuming that can happen quickly, we would turn around and bid project yet this fall with the spring completion date. If it can't happen quickly, I may advocate for taking the sponsored project part out of the project so that we can still bid the sewer and the pads this fall. We would bid the rain garden or the sponsored project stuff later on then. Okay, so that's just a little update about where we are with that, but we also got together with Nillis and Associates, is the engineer for Bobby Terrell. So that's the first time we got to get together with them. And again, we discussed a lot of stuff about the rain gardens on the front side of the development out there. And that looks like, you know, a good project, and they were well versed in what the requirements were of that, and it looks like they have actually designed those rain gardens to handle a 100-year flood event. So these would be large rain gardens that are deep enough to handle this and really should be good for that neighborhood and address concerns of the neighbor.
And Bobby's good with all of that.
Again, this is his engineer, so I
he's
haven't talked with Bobby about it.
He's okay,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah, about the concept, because, you know, on the sponsored project stuff, he didn't care too much because the city's paying him. You know, he had certain things that he wanted to do. He wanted a rain garden to go for, with 2 lots, that there would be a rain garden, and they're smaller-ish, and then there's a grassed walkway between them. So it's not one long rain garden the entire length. It's several small ones that have walkways between them so people can still access the lake. That was really about his only concern.
That'd be nice.
The other thing to know, as we talked about, draining all that area to the south, then into the outlet. Okay, the engineer proposal will say everything drains to the south, but that drainage tile daylights out into the ditch. I think it's even still on Bobby's property. So it does not, it would not drain into the outlet. It would drain into the ditch and continue to flow down. So
Continue to flow.
through the ditch to get to the outlet.
Like it does now, and then it goes right out in this field.
And is that through the rain garden part of the ditch, or what?
No, this is Lanfear's. You know, Lanfear's are the neighbor to the south, so it would flow. Ideally, it flows in the ditch, past Lanfear's and into the outlet.
Okay.
You know, Lanfear's land is really low there, and a lot of the water may flow into that, so that would need to be addressed too. Although the quantity of water should be less than what it is
I was
right now.
gonna say, so is it more? It's
Should be less.
So they wouldn't really have a complaint about that, would they?
They would
Just-
anyway.
Just during periods of real heavy rain. These things are sized for, like, say, a 100-year flood event, that they would hold that much water.
Okay.
And you know, and they hold water until it percolates in the ground. Now, there is a tile underneath it, and it would eventually drain through that tile. There's also intakes, just vision on the south side of each one of these rain gardens, there's an intake. And it's so however many inches above the flow line of the rain garden. So when water's high enough, it does go through the intake. So that portion was good. They are ready to proceed to get their information to the sponsor project folks to work through planning. Okay? With Bobby Terrell, the biggest issue right now is a lift station. That they have designed a lift station that it needs to meet state code about what a public lift station would look like. Okay? And there's a few things that have to happen there, but one of the main things is gotta have 2 pumps, and it has to have valves that are installed horizontally. Okay? And in order to install valves horizontally, basically, that's why you end up with two manholes there. You end up with a manhole for the pumps, and you end up with a manhole for the valves, which adds that much more cost. So they were going to continue to explore options on that, and one of the options may be, instead of a manhole for the valve, that it would just be a valve box accessible from the ground.
So the horizontal that's just, it has to be that way?
And that's a state requirement. So, the other, and those requirements are for public lift stations. You know, if Bobby were to come back and say, I'll keep a private lift station and maintain it privately, those same requirements wouldn't necessarily apply.
But he
wouldn't want to. So, that's where we are on that. That when I got together and was talking with Bobby about that and the lift station, he said, I want to attend to this lift station issue before I would enter into the development agreement with the city. So he's not doing anything with the development agreement now while the lift station is pending. And I think I'd maybe talk with all of you about maintenance building and the specs that we were doing, how we were coming up for specs on this maintenance building that we're working with. Lakeview and Wall Lake Lumber, and they work with an engineer who can get us engineer certified plans. So we will have an engineer certified plans that will be able to bid. But the cost of using that engineering arrangement is substantially less than doing it ourselves. We do have planning and zoning meeting Monday at noon, and this is for Dale Beckman, who's requested the rezoning of that Scott Cochran property for, that would go from residential to commercial.
Is that whole property residential?
It is. There's 2 parcels there, and both parcels are residential. I wrote down, again, this issue about TIF debt, that if the city council would like to look at all about certifying new TIF debt, that has to be done by the 1st of November. So again, it's just a timing issue, and, you know, we don't have anything necessarily pending, but if we want to get something together, it would.
And if we don't do anything, the current one expires?
It does expire. Our asking for next year would, you know, it would take most of the income. We would collect most of the money again for next budget year, but that would be the end.
And so, and we need 3 projects? Or what is?
You have to certify debt for whatever it is that you're going to do.
But we don't have to do it, we just have to have, I mean, we didn't do the
I
last
guess,
one.
but boy, it would seem like if we want to do a project, we should, yeah.
I know, but we didn't do the last one.
I know, that's, yeah. That's why we still have the funds there, it's still pending. And really just my last couple notes, Bill Leonard is on vacation then all week, and then I'll be on vacation on Thursday, Friday. Caliber is supposed to be coming in to do our concrete streets this week. The rain shouldn't hold them off on that, they should be.
Okay.
That's it, Mayor.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Meeting adjourned.
It wasn't even turned on.
I thought I was fine without it.
Mickey.